Hi there and welcome to Wade's Workshop. Today I'm going to be making a tailstock die holder for my WARCO WM180 lathe. Usually I've been using the sort of conventional die holder and using the quill of the lathe to hold this square and in position to keep my threads square in the lathe, but I'm going to be making a dedicated one that fits in the Morse Taper 2 in the tailstock. So let's take you along on the journey. When I bought the lathe and the accessories, it came with two dead centres, an MT3 and an Morse Taper 2. For my tailstock die holder, I want to mount a Morse Taper 2 in the tailstock, in its normal method. But I want a piece of probably 1/2 inch diameter pin on it, maybe 3-4 inches long, in one piece. So the first thing I'm going to do is set my compound slide to the correct angle to do the Morse taper. So what I've done, or a little cunning plan, is I've got a piece of 1/2 inch brass in the lathe. I'm going to face it and centre drill it. And then using the two Morse taper in my tailstock and picking up the centre, I'm going to mount the number 3 Morse taper between centres, as it were, and clock in the diameter of the Morse Taper 3. The angle is the same on both, but just to set the angle of my compound slide. So let's get on with that and I'll show you a bit as we go along. As always, first job, just space the end of the bar. Turn it up a bit. As I say, this bar is not part of the job as such, it's just a means by which I can hold it, to hold a Morse Taper 3 between centres. So, centre drill the hole. Doesn't have to be very big. And there we are. So I've got the MT3 centre set up between centres, as it were, and now all I've got to do is, a little bit at a time, tap the compound slide, which is just nipped, so that when I traverse the compound slide back and forth, that the clock stays on 0. To speed things up a little bit, I got an electric drill with a socket on the end, and I can wind it along. As you can see, we're getting somewhere near now. There's a bit of variation along the route, but that's probably the play in the gibs of the compound slide. But from my start point and end point, 0, I'll have a bit further tinker with it, get it smack on, and then I'll lock that down and recheck it. And then I'll leave the compound slide set to that angle, so that when I do come to turning the Morse taper, I know it's already there and all done. I've got a piece of bar up, it's about 148mm long, just a number out of fresh air, and we got to centre drill the end. I've already started on this, just finish it off. Okay, we'll put a centre in there now and start turning. So, if I look at a normal MT2, I've just measured up the major diameter as 18 diameter, round enough figure, and it's over a length of 69mm. So I've just scratched off the front face, given myself a line of 60mm, and I'll rough it down to 18 diameter. I don't know what this bar is at the moment. I know it's EN8 and it's 25. So here we go. 1.5 mil off the diameter in one hit, using the P, running at 650 RPM. 0.7 off the diameter, 1.5 on the OD. I've changed back to a steel carbide tip as opposed to an aluminium.
aluminium one suited for aluminium. I will get a better finish with an aluminium one. But for roughing out, standard carbide. Let's see if it'll take a mil per side. We'll try it. Maybe a little bit of helping hand. Let's see. I get smoke everywhere now. Yeah, close to that. Let's try another half. I'll take it, well, when I hit the shoulder I'll be taking 3 mil off of that. Nah, I didn't like that. Yeah, comes with 2 mil off the diameter at a time, easy. 3 mil. Pushing the bit to be sharp. Carbide tools do like to work. As you can see, the blue chips. Jumping down your shirt. Yeah, happy with that. I'll bring it back with me somewhere near. So there's a little register on the end. I've just measured up. It's 12.8 diameter and it is around 4 mil long. I'm going to make mine a little bit longer. It's less taper turning for me to do. I'm just going to bring it back a bit more. So I'm going to go about 6 mil long down to 12.8 on the end. Looks a little hard. I have to angle my tool around a bit to miss the centre. No worries. That'll do it. I'll have to have a measure now. Lost my reference. 14.4. Should be 13.4. That should be 12.8. Can't quite get in there. Come out of the way, tool. 12.9. We'll go a little bit more. Purely a clearance this. There we are. I'll just whack this tool round. A bit of a 45 on the end of it, something like that. And that's that. So now I'm going to have to start cutting the taper using the compound slide, and I will lock the carriage off while I'm doing it. Now, moment of truth, let's just see how deep it sits in that morse and if it ejects tidy. It will need a polish up this. Okay. So just give myself a place to come back to should I need to cut it again. By setting the DRO. I just want to see I think I need a couple more scratches. So I put some micrometer blue on it, blued it up. Tin of micrometer blue I've had for years. Given the morse taper a good clean out, I pulled it out, the quill out of the tailstock. I'm rubbing at the bottom. I'm rubbing in the middle. Pretty much all the way along. One more. Yep. all the way along.
That should work nicely.
I'm just going to turn a nice true register to the taper to give myself something to check against.
No particular diameter. I'm going to be turning all this other end down to 12.7, a half inch, when I turn it around. Okay. Let's see, shove for a minute. And we'll take it out and turn it around, put it back in the chuck. I've turned it around, I've faced the end, I haven't centre drilled it. I'm going to centre drill it when I know that it's running perfectly true to the Morse taper. I'm just going to rough this out now because I can hold it quite securely here in the 3-jaw chuck. And just rough it out to like 13mm diameter, leaving myself 0.3 for a finishing cut when I put it in the position where I'm going to machine the diameter true to the Morse taper. And we'll show you that in a bit. So I'm just roughing it out for now. Taking about a mil off at a time. Half mil cut to the side. I'll bring you back when we're stuck in here. So taking it out of the 3-jaw chuck, and I've mounted it directly in a 2 to 3 Morse taper adapter or sleeve in the headstock, in the Morse taper in the headstock itself. So I now know that the area I turn here, which is going to be a half inch diameter, turned on this portion here, that half inch will be running perfectly true and central to everything, so that when it's in the tailstock, that will run perfectly on centre. Not that it's revolving or anything, but it will be perfectly on centre to give a great alignment for the die holder that will slide up and down on it afterwards. So my first step, I've just faced the end, and I'm now going to centre drill it so that I can support the area I'm going to turn with a centre. And as you saw, I rough turned it in the 3-jaw chuck. I've left it about 13mm with a view to removing the load that it's going to have, on that Morse taper and what have you when I'm machining it in the chuck. Because it's not driven, it's purely in there by the friction of the Morse taper, as it were. And I didn't want to take some big cuts and risk anything slipping on the Morse tapers because they're not using a drawbar. And slipping will start to damage tapers and what have you. So it was just a bit of a precautionary free machining then, shall we call it. to avoid the risk or any likelihood of it slipping. Well, it could still slip, but much less likely with the small loads I'm going to be putting on. Right. Need to bring the quill out of it, can't get the tool back. There we go. Can I get in there? Yes. Just take a skim across it, see where I am, set my arrow. I'll bring you back when I'm somewhere near finished diameter. I'm just creeping up on it. I think that's the last bower side, something like that. I'm looking to turn it to 12.7 diameter, or just under, more than likely. I know the half-inch ream I've got is quite badly worn, or slightly worn, and it will cut a tight half-inch hole. So I might even go a thou under with this. I can always polish it at a later date so that it fits the 12mm ream hole, but I'm aiming at a thou under. It'll be 499 thou, something like that. Same reading both ends, that's always good. Right, I'm reading smack on 12.7mm there. So I'm going to polish this up to give it a nice smooth finish. I've left a little fillet radius in the corner. I'll just finish dressing that off. Chamfer on the top, chamfer on the other end, and that'll be the holding bar complete. So I'll just finish that off. I'm freehanding the radius in the bottom of here. Yeah, happy with that. I just have to change my tools over to put a chamfer there and there. I can do this one from here, I believe. Yeah, I can get to this one. Quite have the angle right. Happy days. Can I get to that one? No, nowhere near it. I'll just change the tool over.